Hello, I'm Joe Dallas, and these are tips for maintaining sexual integrity from my book, The Game Plan. Let's talk today about how God interrupts a man's life to further his purposes in it. I learned a painful lesson about that interruption when I was about 4 years old. My family's house sat on a 18th fairway of a private golf course, and the location was just beautiful. The fairway was easy to reach from our backyard, and just a few hundred yards away, there was a steep little road for golf carts that plunged down to a bridge that overlooked the green. It was a very sharp downhill path, and we walked on it frequently, but I wanted to give it a whirl on my little two-wheeler. My dad wouldn't hear of it, of course. He said, "That's too steep, Joey. You could get yourself killed." And that only made me want to try it all the more. It looked fun. I was already a hot shot on my bike, and what did Dad know anyway? He saw danger. I saw a good time. We were walking out on the fairway one evening. I was on my bike and Dad was walking by me, and I begged him for the umpteenth time to let me coast down that hill. He refused. I sulked. Then a neighbor approached us, and Dad started talking with him, and I saw my chance. As soon as Dad's back was turned, I shot off straight for that road. And my bike was just teetering over the edge of it when wham, both the bike and I were slammed onto the grass. Dad was quicker than I'd given him credit for, and he had sprinted towards me when he saw where I was headed, grabbed the back of my shirt and jerked me over. He interrupted me before I went any further because he knew that the thrill I was after would kill me. And wouldn't any good father do the same? Now, that kind of father's love may explain your situation right now. Your sexual sin may have just come to light. You may have been exposed. It may all be out in the open, and you're wondering why. Why indeed? Why, after all, did you get caught when for years you've been using internet pornography and all of a sudden your wife has discovered the history of it now? Or why were you now seen going into that topless bar? Or why now did that long-standing affair come to light? Now, you may think the answer is punishment, and punishment seems justified, so you figure that maybe God is just giving you that long overdue kick in the rear that you deserve. You've sinned, now you're busted, and you're going to suffer. You may think that's all there is to it. But if that's your conclusion, you're underestimating both God's purposes and your potential. Divine interruption isn't punishment. It's an act of a father's love to keep you from going any further towards what will kill you. And it's evidence of his ongoing interest in you and your future. As many as I love, Jesus said, I rebuke and I chasten. And on the subject of chastening, the author of Hebrews makes an interesting point when he says, if you are without chastening, then you are illegitimate. Let's look at this another way. When a racer has a vehicle that needs repair, he doesn't junk it. He pulls it over during the race for a pit stop, and he certainly doesn't do that because he's through with the car, just the opposite. He does it because he's not through with the car. It's valuable, and he has a specific purpose in mind for it. After all, the pit stop isn't a junkyard. It's a place for repair and rebuilding. When God interrupts you, he pulls you over for a pit stop. You're still his vehicle, and your driver still has eternal purposes, and he's determined to see them fulfilled. So yes, there's life after the pit stop, and yes, there is light after your sin comes to light. Oh, sure, it's a scary thing when your father yanks you off your bike and lets your sin be found out. But it's even scarier if he doesn't, because what would that say about you? If God isn't chastening you, then he isn't fathering you. And if he isn't fathering you, then you don't belong to him. So this isn't punishment. It's proof of ownership. And what often brings it about is a crisis of truth which generates unpleasant but necessary pain. Hard? Oh yes, but remember, according to the author of Hebrews, it's not just pain. It's proof of ownership. I'm Joe Dallas, and this is The Game Plan.
Pure passion that beats for Christ alone.